Now in prime time, from the Bay Area's local news station, you're watching KRON4 News at 9.
Now at 9, after months of distance learning, students in the Bay Area may soon begin to return to their campuses for in-person learning. This week, 2 East Bay school districts are another step closer to making that a reality. Good evening, I'm Ken Wayne.
And I'm Catherine Heenan. Pam Moore has the night off. The San Leandro Unified School District and the San Leandro Teachers Union, they've reached a tentative deal allowing for hybrid instruction. And if this is approved, students of all grade levels in that district will be able to attend class in person for part of the school day beginning April 12th. Children will have the option to continue distance learning. A
similar agreement was made this week by the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and if their plan is approved, students could start hybrid learning on March 25th for pre-K through 2nd grade and April 29th for all grades.
And as they all get ready to go back to campus, the CDC is getting ready to cut the social distancing requirement at schools in half, and meaning that they would lower it from 6 feet apart to 3 feet apart.
KRON4's Dan Thorne live for us in San Leandro with how Bay Area schools and doctors are responding to all of this. Dan?
Well, Catherine and Ken, this idea is based off of a recent study which found that 3 feet of social distancing is just as safe as 6 feet of social distancing within schools as long as consistent mask wearing is followed. The CDC director says that the idea and the science behind social distancing has changed over the past few months, and a UCSF infectious disease specialist believes that teachers and students can go back to school safely. A big change to CDC guidance around social distancing within classrooms. It's expected the agency will update the separation requirements between students from 6 feet to 3 feet.
The faster we can bring these kids back to school, the better for all of us, for all of society.
UCSF professor and infectious disease specialist Dr. Peter Chin Hung says the new recommendation would not be surprising. He says the risk of transmission is low between students within schools, and applying the new separation requirements with other protocols such as mask wearing and ventilation would make the environment safe. Vaccinating teachers is also another important layer.
Physical distance, the social distance, is just one of many strategies we use in a very low-risk population.
The American Academy of Pediatrics and the World Health Organization have both stated 3 feet of distance should be the minimum. One of the main reasons why U.S. schools have remained closed is because of the CDC insisting on 6 feet of separation. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky addressed revising the school guidance on Wednesday.
As soon as our guidance came out, it became very clear that 6 feet was among the things that was keeping schools closed. And in that context, science evolves. So there has been one study that was published late last week that demonstrated in Massachusetts, where there's generally 100% mask wearing, that 3 feet was actually safe.
A spokesperson for the Oakland Unified School District gave a brief reaction to the possible change, saying, quote, "It's encouraging news. It's not going to change anything for OUSD immediately. We want to see what happens as this trickles down from the federal level to state and county health officials." Some parents say they trust the science.
I think we should trust and follow the results of the research.
Well, the CDC director acknowledged that it is important for children to get back to school, but would not commit to any sort of timeline on when this guidance would come out. The agency is right now reviewing several other studies before making any sort of official recommendations. Reporting live in San Leandro, Dan Thorne, KRON4 News.
All right, Dan, thank you for that. As of tonight, San Mateo County is the only Bay Area county not in the red tier, but San Francisco Mayor London Breed says that could be changing very soon.
So what does it mean for businesses, for residents? KRON4's Dan Kerman explains.
I look forward to reopening next week, and I look forward to reopening in the yellow tier soon.
During an online briefing Thursday, San Francisco Mayor London Breed announced not only does San Francisco expect to move into the orange tier next Tuesday, but the yellow tier 3 weeks after that.
A whole host of activities can expand their capacities to do more business, serve more people, from restaurants to retails to gyms to youth sports, programs to museums to cultural centers.
But city officials caution this must be done responsibly, with distancing and mask wearing continuing. And because San Francisco is the second densest city in the nation, the moves will be more restrictive than state guidelines.
Our approach continues to be focused on expanding activities outdoors compared to indoors, because outdoors is safer with a respiratory virus. The air just naturally diffuses the virus and provides that optimal ventilation that limits the spread from person to person.
Indoor activity will be allowed, such as dining at 50%, but there will be restrictions.
Tables are limited to 6 people, and these can be from up to 3 separate households. Front of house staff who interact with the patrons are required to wear a well-fitted mask. Television is allowed. Live entertainment is also allowed, with singing and instruments per the rules for such activities indoors. Indoor dining must close at 11 p.m. This is an extension of 1 hour from the previous 10 p.m.
City officials say their guidelines are a work in progress. They want to give businesses the heads up so they're ready to go. The city will finalize these on Tuesday should the state of California move San Francisco officially into that orange tier. Dan Kerman, KRON4 News.
There is new data that shows that an East Bay city is facing a critical juncture. The city of Oakland is seeing an unparalleled rise in crime. Tonight, we are looking at how Oakland police say they're using technology to try to curb this spike. KRON4's Teresa Stasio has more.
This was the scene just less than 24 hours ago. Gun casings from shots fired just a few feet away from someone's Oakland home.
You know, this community means a lot to me as well. I live here, my family lives here, and so every day as we're working to try to, curb the violence, I take those things into consideration as well.
That's Deputy Chief Drennan Lindsay. How bad is it in Oakland right now? The statistics show an unnerving trend. Currently, 30 people have been killed since the beginning of the year. That's compared to 7 killed the same time last year, making it a jump of 314%. Assaults with a firearm up 113% from last year, and carjackings have jumped 150%. Add to that disturbing reality, look at all of these guns, just a sliver of what's been confiscated.
Also been able to recover more than 200 guns this year, which 172 of those guns were connected to crimes.
The deputy chief says that they are deploying new tactics to try and blunt the escalation of crime.
So the department has been working on a 30-day operational plan since the beginning of January. We're also putting together a newly formed operations center, which will be continuously focused on working hand in hand with the Criminal Investigation Division, working hand in hand with the ceasefire team, so we can really provide investigative and operational responses in real time. So our overall goal is just to really use technology and pull all of the pertinent resources together.
Despite that, she does admit they are short-staffed, and that's not helping. She says community support is vital as they continue to try and do what they can to care for Oakland. Teresa Stasio, KRON4 News.
An arrest has been made after 2 elderly Asian people were assaulted in San Francisco. Police say 39-year-old Stephen Jenkins attacked an 83-year-old man and a 75-year-old woman. This is yesterday. A security guard was able to restrain the suspect before police arrived near 7th and Market Streets. Both of the victims were taken to the hospital. They are expected to be okay. Investigators are working to determine if race was a factor in the attacks.
3 Antioch men were arrested in connection to a violent robbery in a laundromat in San Francisco's Chinatown neighborhood. That happened last month in the 1200 block of Mason. Police say the suspects approached a 67-year-old Asian man, threw him to the ground, stole his belongings. He was hospitalized, is expected to be okay. The suspects, 3 19-year-olds, they face a string of charges, including burglary, robbery, elder abuse, and assault. During the arrest, police say they found evidence linking them to the robbery, including clothing, a window punch tool, and guns, as you see here. Investigators say they were also wanted in connection with a string of car burglaries nearby that happened on the same day. And an elderly Asian woman had to fight off an attack. Police say a man punched a 76-year-old Asian woman on a downtown San Francisco street corner. She had been waiting to cross the street yesterday. The victim responded by hitting the man with a stick. Says her instincts took over. Good for her. The man was arrested.
Meantime, in Georgia, police say, quote, nothing is off the table in their investigation into the fatal shootings at 3 Atlanta area massage parlors, and that includes whether or not the killings were a hate crime.
21-year-old Robert Long is charged with murdering 8 people, 6 of them Asian American women. A 9th person was shot but survived. Long told police the shootings were not racially motivated and blamed a sex addiction. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris plan to meet with Asian community leaders in Georgia tomorrow.
Stay with KRON4 for continuing coverage of the recent attacks in Georgia and here in the Bay Area. You can find more reaction from lawmakers and Bay Area leaders. Just head to our website, KRON4.com. After more than a year of staying home, San Francisco International Airport leaders say they're starting to see more people booking flights.
And KRON4's Amanda Harry talked to passengers about getting back on a plane again.
I spoke to people that say they've been waiting a long time to travel again. And right behind me here, we have an Aloha sign and all these tropical decorations. I'm told many people are going to tropical destinations for leisure.
No, this is the first time that I travel since the pandemic.
Antonio Perez tells me it's been more than a year since he's checked in for a flight, and he's not alone in his decision to fly.
Last month, there were probably 10, 11,000 people per day going through our security checkpoints. That number is now up to 14, 15,000 a day and continues to climb.
Doug Yakel with San Francisco International Airport says many of these people are taking vacations.
We're not expecting much in the way of business travel for the remainder of this year. So we do think that as travel is starting to recover, and it looks like it is, it's really that leisure sector that's going to be leading the recovery.
And airport leaders are trying to keep people safe. They have reminders for people to social distance, hand sanitizer available, and partitions up.
Masking still a requirement, although a lot of states around the country have lifted their masking requirement. At any airport on any aircraft in the United States, it's now a federal requirement that you wear a face mask at all times.
That outside.
I'm told airport officials are looking into making a health app that would allow people to certify that they've gotten the COVID-19 vaccine or have recently tested negative for the virus. At SFO, Amanda Harry, KRON4 News.
And with air travel on the rise, Oakland Airport has a plan in place for thousands of flights to Hawaii. Coming up at 9:30, we're going to see why that airport is such an attractive place to depart.
And let's take a live look now. It's been a stormy day, a stormy evening, a lot of snow in the Sierra.
Yes, there is. Let's go to Lawrence. He's going to fill us in. I thought we were going to see Lawrence right away, and obviously I'm not paying attention, Lawrence.
Yes, that's okay, guys. I'll take it from here. Hey, yeah, we've got that rain out there right now, snow in the high country, and nice to see this storm system roll through the Bay Area. Really a good soaker outside. Some of the mountaintops in the Bay Area, 1, even 2 inches plus of rain. So we continue to see the rain, but it's starting to taper off now, making its way south and to the east. Still a chance of some scattered showers overnight tonight, but they'll be mainly fairly light. Out there toward SFO, you've got the tarmac pretty wet at this time, but here comes a storm system rolling in about the middle of the morning and the afternoon got going. We had the pockets of yellow and some orange moving by with some heavier downpours moving through, and certainly a lot of accidents out there on the roadways with all that rain outside. But things calming down right now, mostly dry in the North Bay, just a couple scattered showers there. Most of the activity still a little further to south. You're getting some light rain into San Jose on southward there, and up toward Livermore we continue to see some scattered showers, but most most of this is just some very light stuff coming through right now. But you add that to what we had this afternoon, certainly making things pretty dangerous out on the roads. 11 more, you're catching some raindrops in your neighborhood, and some of that making its way into parts of the Central Valley. The North Bay really kind of drying things out. There's one last little weak wave that wants to move on shore, may bring a couple of scattered light showers. After that, we're pretty much done. The winds have been gusting today, over 30 miles an hour, almost 40 miles an hour in Pacifica today. Now they're beginning to subside. The main front moving on by, but really slowly, kind of cruising on through the Bay Area. So we had some nice amounts of rain because it just was hanging around for a while. Almost 3/4 of an inch there in Santa Rosa, over a 1/2 inch in Mill Valley, almost 3/4 of an inch in Richmond. San Francisco, almost a 1/2 inch of rain. Oakland, almost a 1/2 inch, and 2/10 in San Jose. But of course, they are still getting some raindrops now. Overnight tonight, this storm system going to start to sag a little further to the south, maybe a couple scattered showers even through midnight, but most of that again into the south and parts of the East Bay. Tomorrow morning, you might see a lingering shower in the South Bay. The rest of the Bay Area should stay mainly dry. We'll see those clouds out there on and off, but by the afternoon, things are going to start to clear out around a good part of the Bay Area. We'll dry things out. Then we get ready for the weekend, and the first day of spring is coming our way, and that is on Saturday. And I think it's going to be nice and dry, some warmer temperatures coming next week. We get a real taste of spring. I think temperatures up in the 70s, maybe some mid to upper 70s by the following weekend.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Lawrence. Well, in San Mateo County, there's a new strategy to target vaccines, getting them into communities hardest hit by the pandemic. Officials say communities like East Palo Alto have suffered from vaccine inequity. They want to shift now away from mass vaccination sites to smaller targeted clinics. The strategy includes county-sponsored vaccine events in East Palo Alto, South San Francisco, Bellhaven, and North Fair Oaks. And as classrooms begin to reopen, school officials are welcoming the plan.
And our type of communities feel most comfortable working with their local school districts, working, with their churches, their nonprofit agencies where they receive services versus these large locations that are far away and that they just don't feel certain or safe about.
The community clinics will generally be operating on regular schedules, trying to allow for better outreach to residents.
President Biden says his administration will have given out 100 million shots of the COVID vaccine by tomorrow. He made that announcement during a White House address this afternoon.
And Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer has the story.
This is well ahead of President Biden's 100-day goal, and while he's happy with the success, he says it isn't time to let your guard down.
This is a time for optimism, but it's not a time for relaxation.
President Joe Biden is surpassing his goal for vaccinating Americans, but says more needs to be done.
We're way ahead of schedule, but we got a long way to go.
The White House says the U.S. is injecting an average of 2.2 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine every day, and they're on track to vaccinate 100 million Americans by Friday.
We are on track not just to meet, but to beat vaccine targets.
Democrats like Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff are crediting funding from the latest COVID-19 relief package for taking vaccine distribution to the next level. And lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are encouraging their constituents to get the vaccine.
We need to do everything we can to raise the confidence of the American people to take the vaccine.
North Carolina Republican Richard Burr says Americans should be encouraged to help things return to normal. Kentucky GOP Senator Rand Paul questioned why vaccinated individuals are still asked to wear masks.
You had the vaccine and you're wearing 2 masks. Isn't that theater?
No, that's not. Here we go again with the theater. Let's get down to the facts.
Dr. Anthony Fauci warned senators against pulling back mitigation efforts too soon.
We may trigger another surge.
When asked if people should continue wearing masks, Dr. Fauci answered, absolutely. President Biden said the same in his address, and he also said he'll have a new announcement on his next goal to get more shots in American arms by next week. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
Former California Attorney General Javier Becerra is now the new Health and Human Services Secretary. The Senate confirmed his nomination today, making him the first Latino to take on the job. The confirmation vote was narrow, though. It was 50 to 49. The department, he's been, as you know, Becerra has been our Attorney General here in California for the last few years. Governor Gavin Newsom congratulated Becerra in a statement. He wrote in part, "Today, Javier Becerra again makes history and our nation takes a bold step towards a full and equitable recovery from COVID-19. As Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, he will proudly continue his decades-long fight for quality, affordable health care for all, and in turn make our country healthier and stronger." Moffett Field in Mountain View will not be selected as a shelter for migrant children. Bay Area Congresswoman Anna Eshoo made that announcement today. This comes after Health and Human Services conducted a survey of the property as a potential shelter center, but that's no longer going to happen. Congresswoman Eshoo says she'll do everything she can to ensure that unaccompanied children arriving at the border are treated humanely. More than 4,000 migrant children were being held by the Border Patrol as of Sunday.
Well, with a recall election against Governor Newsom now apparently very likely, both sides campaigning for and against that recall are busy raising money. Capitol Bureau reporter Ashley Zavala has the story.
Our job's not done yet, it's just beginning.
Organizers of the effort to remove Governor Gavin Newsom from office say while waiting for signatures to be verified by local elections officials, the campaigning and fundraising is ramping up.
It'll be a lot of new age campaigning, and I think it's going to be empowering the people on the ground. We have 20,000 volunteers. They're going to keep their booths open. We have 800 permanent signing locations that are going to turn into, mini campaign headquarters all across the state.
According to campaign finance data and committee officials, the two main groups supporting the effort, the California Patriots Coalition and Rescue California, raised more than $4 million combined between the start of the effort and heading into the signature deadline this week. Some of their biggest donors include Orange County entrepreneur John Kruger, former Facebook executive Chamath Palihapitiya, other Bay Area venture capitalists, and members of the Republican Party. Both groups say their goal is to recall the governor, not back any single candidate or party, but more political action committees are forming to help raise funds, including the Republican Governors Association.
Stand in line. There's going to be probably dozens and dozens of other political action committees that are going to get involved in this campaign here in California, which is now, it's the people's campaign. And it kind of saddens me that outside special interests are wanting to come in, but we understand how politics is played, and we're trying to change that.
Meanwhile, on the other side, Governor Newsom's anti-recall campaign said Thursday in its first 48 hours, the committee raised more than $500,000 from online donors. The group says 99% of their contributions were $100 or less. 95% of them were from California. But of the other 5% out-of-state contributions, donations came in from all other 49 states. The campaign includes state and national Democratic leaders like U.S. Senator Alex Padilla, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren.
Rather than allowing Californians to focus on vaccinations, reopening, relief, and recovery, Republicans want to spend millions of taxpayer dollars to recall Governor Newsom in the middle of a national crisis.
The anti-recall campaign's 72-hour fundraising drive ends Thursday at midnight, but a spokesperson with the campaign says they're just getting started. In Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, KRON4 News.
Coming up, a missing Oakland toddler has been safely returned to his family. The questions police are now asking.
And a new report is examining the way law enforcement handled the bar shooting in Ventura County. The changes that report is now calling for.
And the FBI releasing new video of the January riots at the Capitol. The suspects they're trying to identify. That's ahead. The FBI has released new video of several people accused of assaulting law enforcement during the Capitol insurrection. The video shows 10 people alleged to be violent offenders, and the Bureau is asking for the public's help in identifying those people. The FBI has arrested more than 300 people in connection with these riots. 65 of them have been taken into custody for assaulting law enforcement officers. If you have information, they're saying call the FBI or submit a tip online. There is a new report. It examines law enforcement's response to a mass shooting at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks in 2018 in Ventura County. That report says there were poor communications and that the 911 system was overwhelmed. Delays included getting SWAT teams to the scene. The report calls for improved radio communication between different law enforcement agencies and says active shooter training needs to focus more on getting control of the scene. That rampage left 11 people dead. The gunman killed himself.
Ready to get away? A lot of people are. Coming up, how a Bay Area airport is preparing for a surge in travel to a very nice, warm destination. And investigators are trying to figure out why explosives were in a Southern California neighborhood, what they're doing tomorrow to try to keep neighbors safe. Plus, the family of a man killed by Hayward police is still asking for justice, even after the city council awarded them more than $3 million in his death. They want his memory to live on.
Well, the Hayward City Council has approved the settlement of a federal civil lawsuit this week for the family of a man killed by Hayward police in 2018. The 29-year-old father of two was shot 13 times by officers who thought he had a knife. It turned out to be a razor blade.
KRON4's Michelle Kingston has reaction from the family on the $3.3 million settlement, but we need to warn you that you may find some of the video in this story disturbing.
My son should still be here. He should still be raising his kids. You know, his kids miss him. We miss him.
In a closed meeting, the Hayward City Council voted to approve a $3.3 million settlement agreement to benefit the children of Augustine Gonzalez, who was shot and killed by Hayward police in November 2018.
Hold on, he's threatening.
Body cam footage shows when Gonzalez was shot 13 times by Hayward police officers. Hayward police say they received a call about a man acting erratically with a knife outside his ex-girlfriend's home. 3 officers arrived. Police say Gonzalez ignored their commands to drop his weapon. After they shot him, they realized Gonzalez was not holding a knife, but a razor blade.
How do you fear for your life within 7 seconds that they gave my son? 7 seconds. 13 shots. You know, it's just not right.
Gonzalez's family says he suffered from depression and police did not need to use deadly force. The officers were cleared of any wrongdoing by the district attorney 6 months after the shooting. The city of Hayward said in a statement that the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing, but in this case is a means of helping to support and meet the economic needs of 2 children who tragically lost their father.
We don't want our son's memory to be forgotten, especially what happened, because he should, no matter what, he should still be here.
The money from the settlement will go toward Gonzalez's 2 young children. Gonzalez's parents say it's not about the money, and they're still looking for justice.
The settlement meant nothing to us. So to me, I feel numb. I feel like it was just money to keep us quiet and to just kind of brush my son's name under the rug.
Michelle Kingston, KRON4 News.
A 2-year-old in Oakland is safe tonight after allegedly being abducted by a family friend. Police say Michael Hamilton was in the backseat of this car with his aunt and a friend on Tuesday night when his aunt went into a store. They say that's when the friend drove away with Michael. Michael was reported missing yesterday, and after an investigation, police issued an Amber Alert this morning. A short time later, Michael was dropped off at a police station. Investigators say they're still trying to figure out why the child was kidnapped. Anyone with information is asked to call police.
Authorities are destroying a huge stash of fireworks in that Southern California neighborhood rocked by explosions this week. 2 people were killed. Tuesday's blast rained debris over a wide area of the city of Ontario, east of LA. Dozens of residents were evacuated. Investigators have been trying to figure out why those explosives were there.
We have approximately 3 large fireworks that should not be disturbed and have to be destroyed in place. So that's going to be happening tomorrow morning.
2 people had been reported as missing, although family members say now they know the 2 people were the people killed. Authorities have not officially confirmed, publicly anyway, those identities.
The California Senate has voted to expand sick leave for workers due to the pandemic. The legislature passed a similar bill in 2020, but it expired on December 31st. It requires companies with at least 25 employees to offer up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave for a variety of coronavirus-related reasons. The bill is retroactive back to January 1st, meaning some companies may have to pay for sick leave that already was taken. Meanwhile, the number of Americans filing for first-time unemployment benefits rising again. New figures were released this morning by the Labor Department. They show that 770,000 people filed jobless claims last week. The number is apparently increasing despite signs that the U.S. economy is strengthening. Americans are receiving their stimulus checks and COVID-19 vaccines, and coronavirus restrictions are gradually being rolled back across many parts of the country. However, the weekly jobless claims have remained consistently high now for months, hovering around 4 times pre-pandemic levels. Well, if you're ready for a vacation, seems like a lot of people and an East Bay airport are expecting some pent-up demand.
Yeah, KRON4's Ella Sugimonian explains where there really seems to be a high demand for one destination in particular.
Aloha. We've just learned that about half of Americans are looking to get away this spring, and apparently a lot of locals want to be on a beach in Hawaii. So the Oakland International Airport is scheduling 9 daily departures to all 4 major Hawaiian islands during the upcoming spring and summer seasons. Both Hawaiian and Southwest Airlines report that they're booking thousands of flights right now. Port of Oakland's Director of Aviation expects about 1,500 passengers headed out there every day, and he shared with KRON4 what makes the Aloha State so appealing, especially now.
The biggest thing is that, like many people here in the Bay Area and across the country, there's a lot of pent-up demand for just wanting to get away and to relax and feel some sense of normalcy again. And the Hawaiian Islands have always been a strong draw for us here in the Bay Area, especially in the East Bay. And so it's a popular place to get to. And thankfully, it's an easy place to get to with so many flights per day right here from OAK.
Another draw might be that the Oakland International Airport is the only airport certified by the Hawaii State Department of Health as a trusted testing travel partner. So most passengers can get a coronavirus test that can be free with their insurance, and rapid results come back within a half hour. And for $20, you can get those documents right at the airport because Hawaii requires a negative result within 72 hours of departure to travel freely, so that can make it all the easier. Testing options are both by appointment or you can just walk up. In the newsroom, Ella Sugimonian, KRON4 News.
Coming up, legal experts are now weighing in on Vanessa Bryant's decision to reveal the names of first responders accused of sharing photos of the helicopter crash that killed her husband.
And the final storm of winter now winding down. Still some showers outside. We'll take a closer look when we come back.
And as for Steph Curry, probably won't play tomorrow after taking a tumble on his tailbone during last night's game, but he did get quite an honor today. Kate Rooney has the details coming up.
And now, KRON4 Sports.
The Warriors have the day off today, and even though yesterday's game was a nice win over Houston, Golden State can certainly use some time to rest. Today we learned that both Steph Curry and Kelly Oubre Jr. likely won't be in action tomorrow. Curry sat out the 4th quarter of the Rockets game after sustaining a tailbone contusion, so he is doubtful for tomorrow's contest with Memphis. And as for Oubre Jr., this is kind of a weird one. He got kicked in the foot. He's having a lot of soreness there, so he is also doubtful. But it's not all bad for the Dubs. Today, the NAACP announced that Curry will receive this year's Jackie Robinson Award, which recognizes his contributions to the social justice and civil rights movements. The WNBA is also being honored and will be a joint recipient of the award. The NAACP cited Curry's Eat, Learn, Play Foundation and his launch of the Curry brand among his contributions to the community. Here's what Steve Kerr had to say about his superstar.
He's done so many really cool, interesting things to help people, to raise awareness for different causes, different issues. He's really done an amazing job of figuring out how to balance his life and commit himself to not only his craft and his career, but his family and his community and all the people around him. He understands the power he holds and he uses it for good. So he's an amazing, amazing person.
It's the return of the Mac. Newly minted 49ers center Alex Mack played his college ball at Cal, and 12 seasons later, he's ended up back in the Bay. Mack is very familiar with Kyle Shanahan's offense. They worked together when the head coach was an assistant in Cleveland and when he was an offensive coordinator in Atlanta. And Mack is a 6-time Pro Bowler who adds another veteran presence alongside left tackle Trent Williams to the O-line. Today, Mack chatted with local media for the first time about his new team.
49ers, obviously there's a connection with Kyle Shanahan and him as the head coach and the offense he runs. And that always has been something that I know it's a system I can be really good in. It's an offense I know I can excel at. So it was, to me, a very good fit between a good team in a good spot with a good coaching staff and some place that I can be a good player in.
And finally, some more NFL free agency action. The Raiders making moves. Today they signed running back Kenyon Drake to a 2-year, $11 million contract. Drake heads to Las Vegas via Arizona, where he rushed for 955 yards with 10 touchdowns last season. And he'll join the talented Josh Jacobs in the backfield, where the Silver and Black now feel like they've really got that powerful 1-2 punch. Looking forward to NFL season starting, even though it's still a couple months away. All right, that's it for sports. More news coming up after the break.
All right, time for another look at the forecast. A beautiful shot, but boy, it has been stormy.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of calming down here, but Lawrence is still very active in the Sierra in particular.
Yeah, it's really coming down up there right now. In fact, if you're headed to the high country tonight, it's a rough night to get up there. They're chaining up on 80. No restrictions on 50 right now, but certainly that could change as that cold front just kind of slowly works its way through the Bay Area and up in the high Sierra Nevada as well. Tonight, those clouds have been rolling in. Of course, we had the rain starting last night, then really kind of got going in the middle of the morning today and kept going right through the afternoon, and all that snow piling up across the high country. They're trying to keep those roadways clear, and certainly they've had their work cut out as we're going to see upwards of about a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow, that real wet snow developing across the Sierra Nevada. Winter weather advisories not only in effect for tonight, but all the way until midnight on Friday. That gives you an idea how slow moving the storm system is. Here's the good news. You're going to see a lot of fresh snow to ski on as you get into the weekend. Looks like tomorrow, yeah, you got the snow up there. Saturday looking good. You'll see a lot of sunshine and some dry weather. Up there right now, you certainly see it coming down. You see the snow making its way in along 80, Donner Pass, along 50 there. So certainly trouble getting up there toward Lake Tahoe tonight. If you can wait a day or so, it'll be a lot easier to get up there on the roadways. But all this part of the last storm system of the season making its way into the state. Winter coming to an end and spring beginning on Saturday. And here's your last winter storm rolling on through. The nice cold front coming through. Then a little trough of low pressure on the backside of it helped to keep the rain going outside. But certainly that nice rain rolling on through, that kind of steady rain. Some of the mountaintops around the Bay Area, 1, even 2 inches in some of the North Bay Mountains. So a nice little soaker as the storm moved through. We had the pockets where we had the yellow and some orange developing. That was some moderate to some heavier amounts of rain. Now things beginning to break up, as you can see. Scattered showers still into the South Bay, south of San Jose. You see some of the raindrops there along 101, stretching to parts of the East Bay too, and most of that fairly light, although you could see some pockets of downpours in along that area. Livermore, just some scattered showers toward the Altamont Pass into the Central Valley, but really things getting on the backside of this cold front right now, so we're just going to see some scattered showers developing with the system. The winds, yeah, kind of whipping around the Bay Area, almost 40-mile-an-hour gusts today along the coastline. I think as we get toward tomorrow afternoon, the front is gone. Then we're going to see a stronger sea breeze kicking. You'll notice all the colors beginning to fill in. Pretty good breeze. That onshore westerly wind really kicking in by tomorrow afternoon, so kind of brisk late in the day. As far as rain is concerned, the storm system winding down, headed further to the south, but again, a slow-moving system kind of hung up. High pressure sitting out ahead of it, so nowhere to go. So a lot of rain continuing in the Monterey Bay. A chance we could see some scattered showers early tomorrow morning, even in parts of the South Bay. I think the rest of the Bay Area are going to stay dry, but the South Bay certainly a chance of some raindrops. Then we'll clear out by tomorrow afternoon and really looking good as we're going to see high pressure kind of taking over. That is going to set the stage for the weekend. The weekend looks good. So if you want your nice weekend, you're going to get it. Most of the day tomorrow should be dry. Just that chance of showers in the morning in the South Bay. And then here comes spring Saturday and right on time with some more sunshine and some warmer weather through the weekend. Next week up in the 60s, maybe a couple 70s too.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Residents in the southeast are surveying the damage as severe storms continue to move through that area. More than 70,000 homes and businesses were without power at one point, stretching from Texas to Alabama yesterday. A string of tornado warnings were issued this morning for the region where Alabama, Georgia, and Florida all intersect. This after 2 people were injured while riding out a tornado in their home last night. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey said in a statement today, quote, "Overall, we have a lot to be grateful for." She added that it could have been much worse.
Well, Vanessa Bryant has revealed the names of the deputies accused of sharing graphic photos of the helicopter crash that killed her husband and daughter. Reporter Corinne Winter has the details.
The names of Joey Cruz, Rafael Mejia, Michael Russell, and Raul Versales were listed on the court documents tied to the invasion of privacy laws Bryant filed against the LA County Sheriff's Department. This is an amended federal complaint. Attorneys for LA County, they wanted to keep the deputies' names private. That didn't happen. These officials were in charge of securing the wreckage site and to prevent the public from gaining access. Instead, the lawsuit alleges the deputies took anywhere from 25 to 100 pictures on their cell phones and shared what should have been protected evidence.
To her, there is a public message here, and that is he isn't just a sports star. He is a husband. He is a father, and her family had a right to privacy.
According to the complaint, quote, Deputy Cruz boasted that he had worked at the scene of the accident where Kobe Bryant died. Cruz then showed photos of Bryant's remains to a fellow bar patron and the restaurant's bartender, and he is seen on the bar's security camera zooming in and out of the images while displaying them to the bartender. Another deputy, Mejia, according to the complaint, initially told his bosses he took the photos and sent them to others to, quote, answer questions regarding the color, numbers, and identifying features of the aircraft. He later allegedly fessed up, saying that was a cover-up for his improper actions, and that curiosity got the best of us. In the lawsuit, Bryant's lawyers wrote, the sheriff's and fire department's outrageous actions here have caused Miss Bryant's severe emotional distress and compounded the trauma of losing Kobe and Gianna. Bryant's attorneys also contend Sheriff Alex Villanueva failed in his response in a number of areas, that there was no standard investigation into the matter. He didn't properly search the cell phones of the deputies or report the incident to the inspector general. Also, that he didn't alert his own internal affairs division of the Sheriff's Department.
Unless the Sheriff's Department settles this lawsuit, which I believe they should, this will be a very public trial where we will probably learn not only did these officers take the pictures with no legitimate government reason to do so and share them, but the Sheriff's Department from the very top levels sought to cover it up.
And that was Corinne Winter reporting.
It's not a trick. You're looking for a treat. That's a sign of when you should plan on heading to Golden Gate Park for this year's Outside Lands Festival. The famed summer concert in Golden Gate Park has announced it will go ahead with the festival this year, but it's being pushed back to October. The COVID safety plan still needs to be worked out, but KRON4's Maureen Kelly gives us a glimpse of what it might look like.
This video showing happy music lovers crushed together dancing is only from 2019, but it feels like a lifetime ago. You'll remember Outside Lands promoters held off canceling the August 2020 music festival until June, hoping the virus would have petered out. But now they're selling tickets for the 3-day festival again. However, now it will be in October, not August, on Halloween weekend. Now they've got some of the same big names coming back this time around, Lizzo and The Strokes, to name a few headliners. Another Planet Entertainment that puts on the event says they are pushing the date back to help work on determining any new safety measures necessary. So exactly how it's going to look in terms of social distancing, will masks be required, and how many people will be allowed in? Those questions have yet to be answered. So it's unclear exactly how it's going to look. UCSF infectious disease expert Dr. George Rutherford had some ideas.
Trying to keep the number of people down, making people wear, masks. I realize nobody wants to go down the line of requiring people to show proof of vaccination. But that would be another way you could potentially do this. There are lots of different ways you could put something on smaller, with some amount of distancing, the less density, and do it safely. If the number of cases does indeed stay down, which we certainly hope it does.
When I asked city officials if this had their blessing, the COVID command center responded with a statement that reads, quote, public health officials are working with large outdoor events to create a plan for reopening consistent with state and local guidelines. We know that returning to an environment in which people can safely gather will be an essential aspect to our economic recovery, and are working closely with these partners to develop plans that allow us to reopen these events in a manner that minimizes risk. One of the guidelines they're working on is capacity. One city official tells me whatever they plan will have to get a green light from the health department first. Maureen Kelly, KRON4 News.
To the North Bay now, where Six Flags Discovery Kingdom has announced when it's going to reopen. It's in Vallejo, and it says its season pass holders will get first dibs when gates open April 1st. The park will then open to the general public April 3rd. It's been closed for a year, of course, because of COVID. Reservations will have limited capacity, and the system will stagger the arrival times. And there will be temperature checks, and of course, guests will need to wear masks. Current state guidelines do not allow out-of-state visitors.
Roller coaster rides, concerts, we're getting there.
We are getting there.
Slowly but surely. That wraps up KRON4 News at 9.
But our primetime news continues at the top of the hour. There are new developments in the Atlanta spa shootings that left 8 people dead, including 6 Asian victims. The fallout a Sheriff's Department spokesperson is dealing with for saying the suspect, quote, had a bad day.
Here in the Bay Area, there's been an outpouring of support for Asian American and Pacific Islanders after Tuesday's attack. Coming up, one community leader explains how you can be an ally. Those stories and more coming up on KRON4 News at 10.